Hello and welcome back to the Horse Racing Network with me, Izzy Phillips, and I'm joined as always by Jack Milner from Quiff and Racing broadcaster and journalist Paul Auster. Today we're going to be taking a look ahead to a really good race at Aintree in the Grand Sefton and the November Handicap at Doncaster. So we're going to kick things off at Aintree because that comes first in chronological order. The weather for Aintree looks okay, actually. I think if you're going racing on Saturday, you're generally going to get quite a nice day. A little bit of rain around this evening, but pretty sunny tomorrow for most of the day at Aintree. The ground is already good to soft in places at Aintree, so it looks like it could be quite a testing track tomorrow. But I think we've got a really, really good card here. So at the top of the market, you have got King Turgeon. You've then got White Rhino for Sean Bowen, Johnny Who for the John Joe O'Neill team following that. You've then got Our Power, Excello, Gabrio, Colonel Harry, Vintage Fizz, Jet Plane, Frero Bamboo for obviously Venetia Williams, who won the big race at the weekend just gone. And you've then got Mahon's Glory, If Not for Dylan, Blur Denfur, and then I really will say bigger the rest there because you could go all the way up to Mount Tempest at 66 to 1. Do either of you fancy Mount Tempest? Paul, you're the most likely. You love a big price.
I do, but I like a big prize who's going to win. um, so no, Mount Tempest. Well, to be honest, it hasn't come up on my radar. But they're betting 6 to 1 the field. So whatever you bet, if you're betting it each way, as long as it finishes in the places, and there's plenty of firms offering 5 places, then you're going to at least get your money back, and with a little bit of extra on top. I think it's a very tough race. You got the first, second, and third from last year taking each other on again. King Turgeon, when he won it last year, he'd already had a run or two and he was already in cracking form. Now, this is his first run of the season this time. So that has to be considered. But more than that, he's £13 higher as well. So both Vintage Fizz, who was second last year for Jed O'Keefe, and Gaborio for Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero, they're meeting him on £13 better terms for 3 and 4 lengths respectively. So I think that he'll do really well to follow up here, King Turgeon. There's obviously been some money around for him. The other Greenall Guerrero runner, White Rhino, is a really interesting horse because he could be the class act of the race in some ways. He'd won both his starts before he had an unfortunate time of things in the Cato Star Novice Chase. If you remember that on Boxing Day, the race won by the Jukebox Man, and then it all went wrong as well in the Grimthorpe Handicap Chase. But I think he's a horse to keep a close eye on this season. I think there's a number of horses that you can really make a very good case for, but I watched back the Topham Trophy from Aintree in April. And for me, Excello, although he was just being pushed along going towards the second last that day, he jumped really well and he does stay. So I thought he would have gone close had he not really clouted the second last, after which he was allowed to come home in his own time. And Nicky Henderson trains him. And while, as I'm sure you know, Nicky's never won the Grand National, he has won a stack of races over the national fences at these meetings and at the big the Topham Trophy's won quite a number of times as well. So I just think Excello is another one with a touch of class, and if he puts in a clear round at around the 10 to 1 mark, he would be my choice in what is always a spectacle, even though, of course, the fences aren't these days what they used to be.
And then, Jack, what about yourself? Are you agreeing with Paul or going elsewhere?
I really am, yeah. I really like Excello. He's quite unexposed for a 6-year-old. I know they bought him from France, but he's finished second. He's had the honour of finishing second to two of my tracker horses over hurdles. He was second to Western Knight, who's a really nice horse for the Tizzards at Ascot, and then he was second behind Marchand 2 at Windsor, 2.5 mile novice hurdle. He's obviously franked the form winning Bolton up at Cheltenham at the October meeting. But I do agree with, I agree with Nick. I agree with Paul in terms of his jumping was really strong when he ran last time. He just made that one error, and he, as you know, made one, and he was running from about £2 after handicap. But he did actually jump like a bit of a natural before that. So given his profile, I think he's very unexposed. He's probably too big at the prices. I can see why there's money for jet plane. Skeltons have started the season on fire, won the Holden Gold Cup today. Very good ride from Harry Skelton. But it's wide open. I'd be keen to see what the ground's like tomorrow before making before probably getting stuck into anything. But the two I did fancy by looking through them this morning were Excello and Our Power, who a great third in the Scottish Grand National in a race that probably didn't suit him in terms of he doesn't want that much of a stamina test, but he's a small horse. He's quite nippy, and he wouldn't have any real concerns carrying the weight if the ground stays good. You're the weather watch expert here. If he tips you down overnight, I wouldn't fancy him, but I wouldn't mind him carrying 11 stone 10 if he's good in the ground.
Well, I'm going to throw a slightly different name into the mix just for fun. I've had a little look at Our Power, and if you have been following at all Sam Thomas's form, you'll know that he's had 5 winners out of 8 runners in the last 14 days, and it puts him at around a 63% strike rate. So he's outdoing the likes that we've been talking about of William Haggis this flat season, and even outdoing the likes of Ollie Murphy at the start of this season, who we thought was going great guns at 50%. Obviously there were higher numbers, but I think that that's some very clever race placement there from Sam Thomas. Now with Our Power, he has gone over the national fences before. He actually came 11th to Korak Rambler in the Grand National in 2023. Obviously this is a little bit of a shorter trip actually. He's been going over these more marathon distances, 3 mile, 4 mile. He's back here today, obviously back there tomorrow at over 2 mile 5, and I think that might actually quite suit him over a track that he's proved he can get round and stand up, and that's what we all like to know when it comes to the national fences. So he's probably going to be my selection. I think you can get quite a nice price on him at the moment. Jack, what sort of price can you get on Our Power with Quiff?
He's about the 6.5 to 1, 7.2 with us, but he gets stronger elsewhere. But obviously, all our bets have the potential to be supercharged and get a lot higher. But if you're looking around, there'll be extra places on the Sefton race tomorrow, 5 places on that, and 5 places on the competitive handicaps over at Doncaster. But I'm with you. I think Sam Thomas he's taken a few years to kind of warm to the training ranks. He was obviously the famous jockey, Gold Cup winning jockey of Denman in the saddle. But as you said, from phenomenal effort to place his horses. Him and Christian Williams have both come through the Paul Nicholls training school at Ditchy. Add to that Harry Derham, Dan Skelton, Harry Fry. Do all right down there.
Yeah. Paul does all right, doesn't he, actually, at training them up over the years, you think?
Like the assembly line when you put it like that, yeah.
The next thing then on our sites will be the November Handicap. It is the very last race on the card at Doncaster, and that is at 3:45. Before we jump into the field, I think I will like to say that if you're going to Doncaster races, I think you're going to have quite a nice day. The weather looks unseasonably warm. You're getting about 15 degrees with sunshine tomorrow at the racecourse. And there's not a lot of rain around either, which is kind of, I guess, what you want for flat horses. But the thing is that the track is already described as soft. So maybe that will firm up ever so slightly with that weather, especially like overnight, warmer evening, and quite a sunny day. You might get a bit of a hairdryer effect maybe. But at the top of the market we have Castle Cove. Hopwell Rock then follows him, Lord Melbourne, Master Vinter, Atherston Warrior, Master Builder, Stress Free, Maxi King for Ammo Racing there, Miller Spirit, Grey Cuban, Insanity, Hot Fuss, and bigger the rest. You've got a fantastic field here, to be completely honest with you. You've got a maximum field of 23 runners, and we have a card that has 23 runners, so hopefully they all take their place. But unlike some other racetracks that we can see over the weekend, you're going to get your full each way advantages here, as Jack has already mentioned some extra places as well. Jack, I'll come to you first for this one. Who are we interested in the November Handicap?
It's funny again. We do a weekly call with Hector Crouch, and he rode the favourite in this 12 months ago on a horse called Valvana, who's an absolute rogue. I think he went up 92 favourite. Hector tried to put him out last, and we threw him. Just didn't quite stay a mile and a half. He was adamant if this horse stayed, he would have won. And as it turned out, it was a stablemate of Ref Beckett's who won instead, and that's Lord Melbourne. Now he's kind of scuppered his chances by getting a £9 rise for a winning return at Epsom. But if you look at the form of the race from when he landed this 12 months ago, it stacks up fantastically well. The Minutia horse in second, he's come out and won from a mark of the 90s since. One for the Gutter Reopposes, he's now, I think, 4 or 5 pounds high mark. Stress Free, Max again, they've all run well since from high marks. But I'm really torn. If Lord Melbourne hadn't won so well at Epsom and he got in, say, finished second or third and kind of been a bit more obscured, I think he'd have been absolutely certain from this. As it turns out, I think he's still got a good chance around the 7-1 mark. And I wouldn't even mind a couple of those, again, from the corresponding race. One for the Gutter ran really well, and he's kind of held his form since. You wouldn't mind him, and he's got a few duck eggs next to his name. He's come down the handicap since. He's got a mark of 95 now, £2 than when he was placed in this his third 12 months ago. I think that'd be the form of the race I'd try to look at. Lord Melbourne for me, for the Rafe Beckett yards, around the 7-1 mark, and yeah, for them to get a massive price. One for the Gutter, Joe Fractions fanning 25-1 for me.
Fantastic. Paul, are you in agreement? Lord Melbourne looks the pick of the Rafe Beckett horses, or are you fancying elsewhere? Because he has also got Master Vinter in the race.
Yeah, I think Master Vintner's the dark horse of the race. I think he's only run 3 times, is it? And so he's going in a handicap for the
got
first
pretty good
time.
record.
Yeah, 2 from 3, and one of his wins is on heavy ground at Goodwood. So we don't know that he'll stay for sure, but you would think that Rafe must be pretty confident. He's interesting. Lord Melbourne, a bit like in the previous race we spoke about with King Turgeon, trying to win a big handicap for the second year running. It's hard enough to do once. It's not impossible, but it's very, very difficult to do twice, especially off a much higher mark. But he'll love the ground. No doubt about that. But there's quite a few in this race that are going to enjoy conditions. One thing I would point out here is the story behind, not a horse that I would recommend, but the story behind Miller Spirit, who's one of 2 in the race for Gary and Josh Moore, the other one being Atherstone Warrior. Miller Spirit's going to be ridden by Ryan Moore's son, Toby Moore, who's already made a good start to his career as an apprentice. But this horse last time out carried the wrong weight. He was 15 pounds wrong. And he got disqualified because, for whatever reason, the saddlecloth wasn't loaded with the right weight. So
I backed him. He got done in a photo.
He did. I mean, that's the point. He just got up in the photo, I think, but he was disqualified, and he's going to have to run with the right weight in his saddle this time. So I just couldn't have him, even though, of course, Toby Moore has got a nice claim on him. So that's going to be interesting. I'm sure that, like Channel 4, gosh, that takes you back, ITV, they'll be having something to say about that. William Haggis's horse, Castle Cove, lost a shoe in the Autumn Cup when he still ran very well over 1.5 miles. So if he keeps his shoes on, he might be okay. There's one at a big price that I think could go well for a trainer that's really starting to make a name for herself, a filly called Miss Dolly Rocker. Faye Bramley's filly. She's improving, and she got a good handicap. She ran well in listed company. But I think my choice here, and at a price that I think is very tasty, is Tom Dascombe's runner, Hot Fuss, ridden by Pierre-Louis Jamin. This is a really good dual-purpose horse. You might remember him running in the Fred Winter at the Cheltenham Festival. He finished 4th there, which was a massive effort. And then he was in front in the Chester Cup as they turned in. And he just didn't quite get home over 2.25 miles. He likes soft ground. He tends to go quite well fresh as well. So he's had a break since the Chester Cup. And while they're probably teeing him up for some nice races over Timber this winter, he wouldn't be the first to win this race. That's been dual purpose. So 20-1 each way with a number of firms for at least 5 places. I'd be with Hot Fuss in a race that is going to bring down the curtain on the flat season in Britain. And it's always the traditional curtain closer. For me, I've got one very happy memory in this race. Takes you back a long, long way to 1999. The last one of the previous millennium, a horse called Flossie. That was trained by my friend Chris Thornton for Guy Reed, who used to have a lot of very decent horses and was on this anti-post for way back. And she she came through and did the business, did Flossie, and that was one of the happiest racecourse days that I can remember, because we were quids in. It would be nice to have something similar this time with Hot Fuss.
Yes, hopefully. And hopefully we've found you another good price winner this week. I mean, I can't lie, I was quite impressed that providing the goods last week with Ethical Diamond. I think I'm probably siding with yeah, I know, let everybody, thank you.
Impressive.
There's just
Some ride as
a
well, by the way,
dangerous
some
level
ride.
of loyalty I have to Willie Mullins at this point. But on this one, actually, I am going to agree with Jack. I think that Lord Melbourne's probably got a really, really good chance. Nice to see that he's had that little pipe opener since being off, and showing that he's still in form. Obviously, Rafe Beckett's horse is around a 20% strike rate, so they're not doing really anything wrong at the moment. What's interesting is you've got Castle Cove, and I mentioned earlier William Haggis seems to have just had a fantastic strike rate for the majority of the season, and really the majority of his training career, I guess, generally. But obviously you've got slightly different jockey on board, because you have got Kieran Fallon and Tom Marquand both out in Australia as well, because they have got, is it Lake Forest and Bullet Point running out there. So they're just ones to keep an eye on for the weekend. But definitely, I think, agreeing with you there, Jack, with Lord Melbourne. But I say,
I was going to say, I'll try to follow your lead and throw in one at a big price as well, because we won't mention this race, but there's one race in the Wentworth Stakes, the 125. I'm going to try to follow your lead. A horse called Stop the Cavalry is 33-1, and Connections are desperate to get a bit of black type, but she loves. I know you said the weather's going to be okay, but I'm hoping there's a little bit of a rain dance there. She's 33-1, and against both the Hector Crouch this morning, they reckon that she's actually got a very, very good chance. She didn't stay a mile last time out. She's beaten 2 lengths in a listed race over in France. They dropped back to 6, and the aim is to try to use their stamina and pick them off. So Stop the Cavalry 33-1. I'm hoping that will be could pay for a couple of takeaways tomorrow night if she does the business.
Can I
this
just
is
pitch
where...
it there as well?
Oh yeah, go on. I was going to say, I think we all fancy one now.
Well, just to mention, in the same race, the Wentworth Stakes, there's a mare running in that who I suspect, I'm not sure, and I don't want to speak out of turn, it wouldn't be such a surprise if it turns out to be her last race, and that's Charlie Fellows' mare, Vadream, who's been a terrific servant to Charlie Fellows. And she's won a few group races. She's run well in Group 1s. This season, she's never had her ground. She's always been running on good ground, even good to firm, running in top races. For the first time, she's got the mud, and this is when she's at her best. So it just wouldn't surprise me to see Vadream run pretty well. I think she's about 25-1 or something like that. So, maybe Jack and I'll have the reverse forecast, his and mine, and you won't see us next week, because we'll be off under a palm tree somewhere. So, yeah, we'll see. It'd be great to see Vadream run well, and I suspect if she were to win, then they'd say straight away, off to the paddocks, because she's already 7, so that's a lot for a mare on the flat.
Yeah.
To your point there, Paul, as well.
No,
like,
nice
this
to
time
see
of year,
her and a bit of Bry.
Because at this time of the year, it's so horses are so ground dependent. Like if you can find a couple of horses that love the mud flying and love a bit of soup, like you see so many horses that are kind of specialists around Fosslas and Chepstow, because it's a different level of heavy. So no, I think I'm gonna have to have yours as a safer. So fingers crossed we can nick a place at the prices.
Oh, be well.
The Wentworth can end up being quite a spicy race for the podcast, because I really fancy Montessie for the reason that he'll have his soft ground as well. I know I sort of cliffed him as my best fancy of the whole Ascot British Champions Day meeting, and he sort of somewhat let me down there, really, but maybe he can come back here. So I'm on the fab in that one, but a really exciting race, one that I will be watching closely to see who comes back with bragging rights, if anyone, in next week's podcast anyway. But that is all we have time for today. Hopefully we found you a winner or two, and you can be lucky as well. And do join us again next week, where we'll be taking a look ahead to the big November meeting at Cheltenham. So we're in full swing. We'll be looking at all those National Hunt stars that will be making their way back to the famous Cleve Hill.